Jimmy, Emily, you are finally now standing together at the holy threshold of marriage.
We just are so grateful that you've led both of us here and both of us to each other. We know that this is the start of something truly special, the plan that you have for the rest of our lives.
Jimmy, you spent most of your life chasing around a little soccer ball. That ball took you all over the world and landed you in Oklahoma City. And we're glad you did, because it was in law school at OU, where on the first day of torts class, you sat down next to a stunning blonde girl who quickly offered you a piece of gum. So following that ensued many coffee dates and study sessions and intentional conversations about faith in the future. You learned that you both loved Jesus. You loved others, and you loved to laugh.
What we have feels so natural and right. I knew that one day I'd be writing this letter to you. I knew when I caught glimpses of you studying dutifully on your spot in the quiet part of the library. I knew when you came over and asked to go watch the sunset, and we ended up getting margs and queso instead. I knew immediately after meeting your family, and when you and I were sitting on the porch at your grandparents' house watching the thunderstorm roll in. I knew when you kept playing Pokemon Go with me, past the point of it being socially acceptable. I knew when you would give me as many high fives as I ever wanted. Every single day, you reaffirmed that marrying you is the best decision I've ever made.
And this eventually led you to Oxford to study abroad, and that's when you really learned to love each other. And it was overseas that you learned how Jimmy is consistent. He's devoted, he's calm under pressure. Jimmy, you learned how committed, nurturing, and loving Emily is.
I love this so much. Y'all are so sweet. This is so thoughtful.
You see, she had made her decision that she was never going to leave your side. And that was a big deal for Emily. And eventually, Jimmy, you had also made your decision. You surprised Emily in Aspen with a horse-drawn carriage and a ring, something out of a storybook for your future bride, and you both made plans to look forward. You see, you'd spent 3 years in law school talking about contracts. But this was different, it was deeper. Now, you were talking about covenants.
Looking back now, I know that every twist and every turn that I've experienced thus far in life was all a part of the path that God laid out for me so that He could bring me to this exact place in this exact moment. God's better plan was always to lead me to you.
So the day was February 10th, 2018, and we were going to a black tie event involving the entire family. Naturally, as I was getting ready, I didn't like my hair, so I was having a freak out with my mom. Words were exchanged, doors were slammed, and amongst the chaos, I completely forgot that Jimmy was in the living room and could hear absolutely everything going on. Humiliated, I got myself ready, got in the car, and sat down. And I looked to Jimmy and I said, "Jimmy, I am so sorry you saw me be unpleasant." And his response was my favorite. He just turned to me and said, "It's all right, I have a sister, I've seen worse." This response told me two things. Number one, it told me that me and Allie Irwin had a lot in common. And two, it taught me that if he can handle seeing me act like Godzilla in a dress, that he can handle anything my sister had to throw at him.
You are the man of my prayers and dreams, and I am truly honored to be your wife. Let's freaking do this, fam. Catch you at the altar, pal. I'll be the one in white.
He's gonna die. Oh my God.
You guys were probably about 6 months in. And Jimmy had talked to me a little bit about Emily, and he was like, Emily's pretty. I like her a lot. I could kind of tell by his voice. I was like, there's something different and special about this girl. I actually got to see them together and the way that they looked at each other. And that's when I said to my wife of 33 years, I said, she's the one.
I, Jimmy, take you, Emily,
To be my wife.
to be my wife,
To share my life with you.
to share my life with you,
By God's grace to love you.
by God's grace to love you,
As Christ loves the church.
as Christ loves the church,
To build a good home for you and our family.
to build a good home for you and our family,
To love you above all others.
to love you above all others.
I, Emily, take you, Jimmy,
To be my husband.
to be my husband,
To share my life with you.
to share my life with you,
By God's grace to love you.
by God's grace to love you,
As Christ loves the church.
as Christ loves the church,
To build a good home for you and our family.
to build a good home for you and our family,
To love you above all others.
to love you above all others,
To pursue and cherish you
to pursue and cherish you
from this day forward.
from this day forward.
It is my honor and privilege to present to you for the very first time, Mr. and Mrs. James Irwin.
I don't know if it was before or after the twinkle in her eye for Jimmy. I started talking to her. I thought I got to talk to her about what's important about, in a husband to look for. And after we went through the whole, he's got to be loyal, he's got to be hardworking, he's got to be honest, he's got to share the holidays with the mother-in-law, he's got to love the mother-in-law. He better love the sister where it's all off. But I also gave her an analogy about forging a path, with the machete through the jungle. So, take care of my little girl. We all love you and we support you, and we're so excited about this marriage.
Because of the vows you've made today before God and these witnesses, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Jimmy, you may kiss your bride.